Julie. Feel free to grab a blanket or a block or a blanket for class today, but we will have a fun, energizing, but also have some nice deep stretches for class today. So get yourself a comfortable position and we'll get started. And for the beginning of class today, let's get started on our backs. Finding any comfortable position to start up your practice. That can be lying flat with the knees bent. Maybe even bring the feet wide, knees knocking together. Or you can always choose to bring soles of the feet together, knees wide. Or maybe lying flat in a corpse pose. Maybe start to close the eyes. Maybe the hands come to rest on the belly or the ribs. Or you can have palms open at your side. Just start to take a little mental check-in, taking some inventory of the feelings, how you're feeling right now. Maybe even allowing this moment just to let anything that's stressing you out or something on your to-do list that just seems to be in the mind. Allow anything to rush in, check in, notice what comes up. And then maybe on that next inhale, exhale to release, letting go of all those worries, allowing anything on your to-do list or anything that's happened so far today or something that's yet to come, allow that all to come again another time. Just start to accept the next little while is for you to reconnect. Reconnecting with the breath and the body and the mind. And just keep that attention at the breath. No need to change anything just yet. Just allow that breath to come naturally. Maybe you're taking some bigger breaths. Maybe you're starting to notice some tension in the body or some aches and pains. And then let's start to deepen the breath. If you haven't already started, taking some longer inhales. Matching those inhales with the exhale. I like to keep my hands on my belly just so I can feel that rise and fall. We're taking some big belly breaths to start. It's a lot easier when we're laying down to get that belly to really fill up and contract on the exhales. So take a second just to maybe tuck the chin slightly, just to elongate the back of the neck. And then next inhale, let's take a count of 4. Inhale for 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4. Inhale for 4. Keep counting in your head. And then exhale, really pull the belly button in towards the spine, squeezing out all that old air. Inhale. And then exhale. We'll be here for a couple more rounds. If that count isn't working for you, feel free to take it down to 3, or you could add in an extra second. Or maybe if you'd like, you could try retaining the breath at the bottom and the top of the breath. So on the top of that inhale, you hold the breath, 1 count, and then exhale, hold the breath at the bottom. And just check that out. Maybe that's working for you. Otherwise, you can keep up with that matching breath. 2 more rounds here. Release some tension from the shoulders. Maybe the jaw can relax a bit more. Beautiful. And then allow the belly to soften. Let go of any holding or counting. And just start to check in here. Maybe noticing if it's taking a little while longer to sink into your practice. Maybe you're wanting some more energy, or maybe you're just having sluggish feelings, or maybe whatever is coming up. Just take a second to acknowledge. Maybe you've been comparing to how you felt a few minutes ago at the start of class. Maybe even connecting into that unity. Just imagining who else is practicing with you at this very moment. There's guaranteed to be someone else out there who's also taking their yoga class. I know it can feel a lot different when you're with a group of people versus when you're all by yourself in your home or somewhere else that has a lot of distractions. It's easier to fall in and out, and just allow whatever to come up to be, and give yourself some grace. Maybe there's something you need from your practice today, whether that's ease, maybe that's finding some awareness or staying present in the moment. Beautiful. Now let's start to wake the body up, bring that movement in, wiggle fingers and toes. And then go ahead and take a full body stretch, pointing the toes, maybe picking up the hands slightly, just like start to wake up in the shoulders here. Keep up with that long, beautiful breath wherever we are. And then go ahead and pull the knees into the chest. Give yourself a squeeze here. Rock a little side to side, massaging that low back. And let's grab onto the kneecaps here and let the arms go long. We're just kind of playing with this low spine here, that lumbar spine, and just playing with that natural curvature, and then activating the belly when we pull in slightly. So just move a little here, just finding that little tiny movement for the low back. Checking in with the belly. Good. Now let's take some circles, holding onto the knees. Maybe finding a nice little massage. And switch directions. Beautiful. And then let's go ahead and let the feet shine up towards the sky. You can have a generous bend in the knees. You can even keep the hands on the backs of the legs here. And just go ahead and spread all of the toes. And we're still activating the belly here. Maybe the hamstrings are really tight, maybe the hip flexors. I know I have a lot of trouble keeping my hip flexors nice and open and stretched, so it's hard for me to straighten my legs right away in practice. If you want to add the hands in here, just maybe starting a little fire in the belly, spreading fingers and toes. You can even roll the wrists and the ankles. Maybe adding just a little tiny pulse by lifting the heels up towards the sky. Just a tiny little movement, just kind of starting to activate those inner core muscles, those deep abs. Keep up with that breath. Using the exhale as you lift. Inhale to lower. Beautiful. Let's bend the knees, hug the knees into the chest. Maybe lift off with the head, coming into a little ball. Beautiful. And now let's roll to one side, and we're going to come up on to sit. Cross-legged position, or you can be sitting on the knees, whatever's more comfortable. Either having those ankles crossed, or you can even bring one heel in front of the other. This is a good spot for a pillow or a block if you'd like, just to lift the hips up a little higher. Sometimes it's hard to keep the spine straight without that little extra padding here. Just listen to the body and find a good position that you can keep the spine straight so you can feel comfortable. We'll be here for just a few rounds of breath. Maybe soften the shoulders here. We're just taking it easy to start. And then inhale to lift the hands up and overhead. And then exhale. Let's drop that right elbow towards the floor. Maybe you keep that elbow hovering here. Otherwise you could, if you can drop all the way down to the elbow. So wherever you are, this left hand, or I'm mirroring you, so your left hand reaching up. And just breathe here, checking it out. See if you can keep both sit bones anchored here. So really anchor down into that left side. Maybe as you're here for a couple breaths, you can drop a little lower. And then using this top hand here, your left hand, maybe you can reach out in front of you and then reaching back up. Just keeping this movement going here. It's like you're brushing your hand on an invisible surface in front of you. We're finding this really nice stretch in the left side body. All right, just one more round. Maybe looking up, and then mindfully, slowly start to walk your way back up. Reaching both hands up. You can wiggle a little side to side. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Dropping over onto that left elbow or resting on left hand. Just check in here. Make sure both of those sit bones are really nice and actively rooted here. Maybe for the whole duration, you keep this hand lowered. Whatever feels best. If you want a little more, we can add that movement in. Reaching out in front. Keep breathing here. And just do one more. Reach out in front. Inhale as you open the chest up, maybe look up. Beautiful. Let's start to walk our way back up. And then let's rest here. Let the hands rest onto the knees. Maybe soften the gaze. Maybe you shrug the shoulders a little bit here, pulling those shoulders up towards the ears, shoulder blades squeeze behind you. And then find some stillness here. Let the shoulders drop, soften the face, soften that space between the eyebrows. Beautiful. Then open the eyes. We're going to bring ourselves forward, coming into our tabletops. So bringing hands right under the wrists here, knees right under the hip points. We're finding that tabletop so we can play with that little lumbar spine ab activation here by just pulling the belly in slightly, tucking the chin, and you can have this nice long line of energy running from crown of the head all the way down to the tail of the spine. Beautiful. Let's inhale to drop the belly, open the chest, look up. Really stretching into that front body. Exhale as you round it back. Stretching into the back body. Pushing away with the hands. Really spread actively between each fingerprint. Good. Now use your breath to go between your cat and cow. Maybe even start to close the eyes here. Just really savoring into that sensation. Noticing where you're getting a stretch, where you're feeling the sensation. Beautiful. Now let's come back to that tabletop. From here, we're going to wave the tail a little side to side. And then coming back to center, we're going to add in a little barrel rolls here. So bending into the elbows, we're going to come way out to the right side, and like your rib cage is a big barrel, or like we're inside of a barrel, pushing on each side. We're just doing some circles here. We're still getting that nice spinal movement here when we're rounding the back and opening up as you come down. Go ahead and switch directions. Beautiful. Let's come back to center. If you need to come off the wrist for a beat here, go ahead and take a little wrist roll, take a little relief there. And once you're ready, let's go ahead and push that right foot away. Keeping toes curled underneath, rock a little forward and back, finding this nice little calf stretch, back of the leg. Beautiful. Now let's glide right foot over to the left side. Maybe the gaze goes and looks out past that foot. And keep that belly active here by pulling in, making sure we're not arching too much in the back and keeping that active energy. Supporting with the core. Big breath. Good. Let's come back through center. And then go ahead and set that knee down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So if you ever need to take a little break or relief off the wrist, go for it. Listen to your body. And we'll meet with that nice calf stretch for the left side this time. Rocking forward and backward. Good. Now let's glide over. Looking out past that foot, pull that belly in. Good. Let's come back through center. And then we're all gonna bring big toes together, knees wide, push it back to a child's pose. You can maybe open up the palms if you like here. And maybe the head rests onto the mat. Checking back in. Just notice how you're feeling here. Good. Let's claw through those fingertips to pull ourselves forward. And now, coming back to that tabletop, we're going to go ahead and lift off with the right leg this time. Hovering here. And then let's pull that knee into the chest. We're just coming into a little crunches here, bringing forehead to knee. Find expansion. 2 more of these. Pull that knee in towards the forehead. Good. And then 1 more, but we're pulling this foot through, coming into a low lunge. And go ahead and readjust here if you need. Maybe bringing that back knee a little further back or closer together. We're keeping that front knee right over front ankle to start. Rock a little side to side here, savoring in this stretch in the front of that left hip crease. And keep the chest nice and open here. Coming up onto the fingertips, or you can maybe rest down onto the hands. If you need to, you can always come onto this front knee too. Just gives you a little more space. Breathing deeply here. And then let's go ahead and walk the hands back, starting to straighten through that front leg. Toes pointing up towards the ceiling. And bow the head here to deepen the stretch just a little more. One more big breath. Beautiful. Let's walk it back up. We're going to come through a little twist here. So left hand's going to plant, right hand reaches up. Opening up into that right shoulder. Send the breath down into the belly. Good. Let's come back down. And then we're going to just send this foot back again. Coming back to that table. Take a little cat-cow here between sides if you need. And then coming back in. Left foot reaches back to start. Coming into those crunches, we bend into that left knee, pull it in towards the forehead. Inhale as you expand. Exhale to contract. Pull it all in. Inhale to reach. Exhale, bend it forward. We got 1 more of these. Really contract. Pull the belly in. Beautiful. Now this time, let's pull that foot forward, coming into that low lunge. Take a second here just to check in, maybe bringing that back knee a little bit further back. Maybe you need to bring it a little closer. Just find a good lunge that you can hold for a few moments here. We're creating space. This is very good for the body, even if it feels like it's too slow or you just not feeling it. Just stick with it. Inhale, look up, maybe finding a little bit more of a lift. Good, let's come back. Half splits here. Dropping the forehead. Maybe you can sink in a little bit deeper. Beautiful. Let's walk it back up. Bending into the front knee. And then we're gonna come into that twist here, this time planting into that right hand, left hand reaches up. Sending the breath into the belly, really feeling that belly as it presses into the left leg. Good, let's come back down. We're gonna plant into that hand, and then we're gonna send it back. Beautiful, let's curl into the toes, and we're gonna push it up to our first down dog. Pedal through the legs. Keeping up with the breath. Just savor this first down dog. Notice how it feels. Notice if you're feeling still tense in some areas of the body. Let's all really bend generously into that right knee, starting to straighten maybe through that left leg. Maybe the gaze goes underneath that left arm. Good, now coming over to the other side. Straighten through that right leg, left knee really generously bends, look under that right arm. Good. Now let's all shrug the shoulders a little bit here, getting into those deltoid muscles. Now looking up towards the hands, we're going to slowly walk our way to the top of the mat. Forward fold. Keep a nice bend in the knees. Shake the head around a little bit here. Good. Let's inhale to come up halfway. Halfway lift. Hands maybe coming to those upper thighs to really push into the thighs to straighten the back. Good. Exhale, fold. Now from here, we're going to be dangling with our hands, and we're just finding a little bounce here. Bouncing from the right side over to the left. It's really good for the backs of the legs and that low back. Just keep this little bounce going. Notice if you're holding in the neck and try to release. Just one more round and we'll meet in the center. Good. Now this time, let's inhale to lift all the way up, root to rise. Reach up with the hands. Beautiful. Now let's bring those palms together, coming through to heart center, mountain pose. Soften the gaze, maybe close the eyes. Roll those shoulders up and back to keep the chest nice and open. You can keep the hands at a prayer pose, or you can drop the hands to the side. Maybe you even can play with the belly here, finding that pelvic tilt by pulling the belly in slightly. Good. Now let's sweep those hands up and overhead. Maybe the gaze goes up and you can drop the head back. Good. Now exhale. Let's all fold it forward. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale, fold. This time plant into the hands. Let's step back to our plank. Plank pose can either be with knees lifted or you can lower. Just check it out. We'll be here for a couple breaths. Push those heels away if you have the knees lifted. Tuck the chin. And really find this little bubbling up between the shoulder blades here. Good. Exhale to lower, coming down to the knees, and then dropping the chest between the hands. Inhale to lift for cobra. Elbows pull in. Exhale, fold. Now let's send those hands back here. We're going to come into a little locust pose, so maybe the hands stay on your sides here, or maybe you can interlace fingertips to open the chest, lifting off with the head. So maybe you're here, maybe you're here. Big breath, and then exhale to release. One more of those. Inhale to rise. Roll those shoulders back, open the chest, look up, and then exhale to release. Push into those hands. Let's come back to our down dog. Good. 2 breaths here. Find some stillness. Let the heart melt towards the knees. And then let's look up towards the hands. Step up to the top of the mat. Forward fold. This time grab onto opposite elbows. You can sway a little side to side if that feels good. Maybe bobbing. And then releasing the hands. Let's roll it up. Coming through our mountain pose. Rolling the shoulders back. Check in. Maybe you set a little intention for your class. Maybe you just need to repeat the mantra, I am here. Good. Let's sweep those hands up and overhead. Reach up, look up, and then exhale, bow forward. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale to fold. Let's plant into the hands. We're going to step back to that plank. One breath here. Find your plank. Straighten out. Build up the heat. And then exhale, let it go. Inhale for a cobra. And then exhale, let's come back to down dog. Good. In our down dog, let's start sinking into that left heel. Right foot's going to reach up. 3-legged dog, we're keeping the hips square here. Just checking it out. And now let's pull that knee in towards the forehead, and we're going to set the foot at the top of the mat. Good. So we're in a lunge here. Plant into that left hand, right hand reaches up, twist. Good. Plant that hand back down. We're going to set back foot down, setting up for our warrior 1 here. So the back foot is at a 45-degree angle. Both hips are pointing forward. Bring those hands to the hips here and rise up. Maybe you need to widen the stance just a little bit for stability. And play here with the hips. Maybe you're noticing this back hip just really wants to come back, and just see if you can make a little micro movement to face forward towards that short edge of the mat. And let's loop those shoulders back, open the chest, look up. Breathing deeply here. Maybe if you're ready, you can lift those hands up towards the sky. Gaze maybe travels up, or you can look forward, whatever feels better. Good. Let's bring those hands back towards the mat. Coming through our low lunge, let's take a vinyasa. Step back to your plank and exhale to lower. Inhale to pull the chest forward. Exhale, down dog. Beautiful. Right heel starts to sink in. Left foot reaches up. 3-legged dog. And then let's pull left knee in towards the forehead. And then set that foot at the top of the mat. Coming into a little twist here. Right hand plants, left hand reaches up. Push that back heel away. You can always drop down to that back knee if you'd like. Good. Let's spiral back down. Set up for that warrior 1 by dropping onto that back heel and then lifting off. Hands come to the hips here. Open up the chest. Check in. Maybe you're playing with that little pelvic tilt. Maybe you're ready to start lifting off with the hands. And really feel where you're grounded here. Feel all of those toes as they press in. Feel the big mound, small mound, and the heel of the foot as it roots into the ground. And then soften the shoulders, soften the hips. One more big breath. And then exhale, let's bring it back down. Take a flow here. We're all gonna meet in a child's pose. You can either keep those knees really together, or you can keep knees wide, big toes together, sinking it back. Breathing deeply. Good. Let's start to lift off with the wrists here. Climb through the fingertips. Maybe the gaze travels up. Just finding a nice little openness for those shoulders here. Maybe the heart sinks down a little bit. Good. Now let's start to pull ourselves forward and push it up to that down dog. Looking up towards the hands, step up to the top. Bow forward, let go of the head. And then let's start to roll it up, vertebrae by vertebrae, coming to our mountain pose. Loop the shoulders back. And then inhale to lift off. This time, let's try to bring those hands together if it feels okay. Maybe even take a little hand grip here. And we're just gonna find a little side body stretch, stretching over towards that left side. One more big breath. And then inhale to pull up through center, really reach up and then over. Keep with it, one more breath. Good. And now let's rain the fingertips down, bow forward. Inhale to come up halfway. And exhale to fold. This time let's step right back to our down dog. Good. Now let's start to lift off with that right foot. Three-legged dog. And then let's pull through. We're going to pivot on the back foot, coming into our warrior two this time. So back foot is going to be perpendicular to that front foot. Inhale to lift. And really push away with the feet. It's like we're pulling the mat away by pressing into that left side of that back foot. And opening up with this right knee. Last thing to lift are the hands in one straight line. Gaze softens out past that front middle finger. Beautiful. Let's open the front palm, reverse it back. Reach for that back leg. Good. Now let's bend into this right elbow. Elbow comes to the front knee. Left hand reaches up for the sky. Big breath here. Maybe the gaze looks up. Good. Let's bring that left hand down. Frame that front foot again. Now we're here in this low lunge. So listen up here. We're going to come into a little Skandasana, a side lunge from here. So starting to plant into this right hand, we maybe start to roll onto the back foot. Keeping this right knee open, maybe those back toes start to point up. You can use this left hand to really open up for the hips. Let's check it out. If this is way too much on the knee, maybe you're a little higher up. Good. Let's start to pivot on that back foot again. And we're going to come through our pyramid pose. So maybe back foot comes in a step and we start to straighten through both legs. Hips are pointing forward. Hands are on either the ground, maybe they're resting on this front foot. Take a big breath here. Maybe you can soften in the face, soften in the shoulders, the neck. Good, bend into that front knee. Let's come back down to the earth and take a flow if you'd like, or come into any resting pose, whether that's your down dog, child's pose, or I invite you to drop down to the knees, take a puppy pose. Reaching forward. Soften the breath. Just notice how you feel. Beautiful. Let's come back to that down dog. We're going to go through that little dance on the other side. Let's see if I remember all the parts. Good. So from this side, we start to plant into that right heel. Left foot reaches up. And then right away, let's pull that left foot to the top of the mat. We're coming into that warrior two on this side. So then pivot on the back foot. Once you're grounded, you can start to lift off here. Feel free to make some adjustments. Maybe your warrior two is really low today. Maybe you're a little higher, whatever feels okay in the body. Last thing to lift are the hands. Check in that the shoulders are right above hips. Hands are in one straight line. So sometimes that back hand likes to lower a little bit, and just check in. One straight line. Lots of energy flowing. And arrive here. Good. Open the front palm. Let's reverse it back. Dropping onto that left elbow. Coming to your side angle. Beautiful. Now we're going to drop down, frame that front foot, and we're coming through to that little side lunge on this side. So starting to press into that left hand, you can roll onto the back heel. Maybe this right hand can open up the hip a little bit more. Just checking it out. We're focusing on the sensation. We're getting this nice inner groin stretch, the inside of the thighs and the hips. Breathing deeply, getting the full benefit of this stretch. Good, now let's start to frame that front foot again and come through that pyramid. Starting to straighten both legs and find a good spot for the hands. Beautiful. One more breath. Let go of the head. Good. Bend into the knee. And everyone, either take a flow if you'd like, or let's all come to our child's pose, Balasana. Maybe both knees together. Bring those hands back towards the feet. Resting here. Really feeling this nice stretch into the back. Good. Now let's bring those hands back forward again. Reaching up, come through your down dog, and then right away let's meet at the top of the mat. Dropping the head. We'll inhale as we lift off. We're going to come through our balancing of today's class. So today we're going to do a figure 4 balance. So starting to put the weight into that left foot. We maybe find a little buoyancy with that left knee as the right foot reaches up, coming through a little one-legged Tadasana or mountain pose. Just checking it out. Maybe the hands come to the hips. If you're ready, we can bring that right ankle to grab a spot on the left knee. Maybe the hands come to rest on the knee and the foot. Maybe you can sink in a little deeper. Maybe you can start to fold forward, reaching for the floor or a block. Just checking it out. Beautiful. Let's use a big inhale to rise. Maybe you can even unhook that leg coming through that mountain. Grab onto the knee. And then exhale to let go. Shake out the legs. We're going to do the same thing, but on the other side. Planting into that right foot. We start to lift off with left knee to start. Maybe you're starting to find that bend in the right knee. Once you're ready, find a little cozy spot for that left ankle to rest. Finding a little focal point sometimes helps with balance. Just checking it out. Becoming aware of where you're feeling the tension building, maybe releasing in the body. Use an inhale to rise, lifting off with that left knee. Maybe you can hook onto the left knee, lifting up. And then exhale to let it go. Shaking out both legs, maybe even swaying a little side to side. And then let's come to the top of the mat. Take a big inhale to lift the hands up and overhead. And then exhale, fold it forward. This time maybe grabbing onto the backs of the legs. Anywhere where we can keep the legs as straight as possible. That might be up higher. Maybe you can reach back to interlace the fingers. We're really just pulling our body towards the legs. It's more of an active forward fold. Keep up with that breath. And then we'll release, let go of the legs. And let's slowly bring ourselves down to sit. We're gonna bring the right foot into the left leg. We're just checking this out to start. Keeping those left toes active. And then inhale, let's lift off with the hands here. And then exhale, fold over the left leg. Grab anywhere on the leg. See if you can keep this left leg straight though. I mean, it's okay if there's a little bend, but we're keeping as straight as possible and then folding over. Good. Inhale, let's rise up. We're going to straighten right leg, switching over. Left knee bends. And just take a moment to get the sit bones nice and anchored into the ground. Last thing, we lift off with the hands. And then exhale to fold. Breathing deeply. Good. Let's start to rise back up. And then we're going to meet with both feet together, soles of the feet. And let's go ahead and grab onto the toes and really pull the chest forward here. Maybe even the gaze can look up. You can find a little bounce for the knees if you like, a little butterfly, fanning the inner flame. And then exhale, let's round the back, fold forward. You can always find a groin stretch by bringing those elbows onto the tops of the legs, pushing the knees down. Good. Inhale, let's rise up. Close the legs like a book. And then we're going to go ahead and roll down the spine. And let's cross over, right ankle over that left knee. If you need a little more space, left foot can come to the ground. Otherwise, we're going to thread the needle, grabbing onto the back of the left leg. Breathing deeply here. If you like to have a little sway, sometimes feels really nice. Really actively pull the legs towards the chest here. Good. Let's let go of these legs. We're going to switch over. Left ankle over right knee. And then threading the needle, grab onto the back of that right thigh. If you need a little more, you can always grab onto the shin. Savor in the stretch. Savor in this last little bit of class. Start to deepen the breath again. Maybe even close the eyes. Beautiful. Let's exhale to release. Stretching the legs out long. Or we're going to keep left leg long to start. Right leg is going to pull in. Take a big breath here with this knee just pulling into the chest. And then maybe you can add a little movement by rocking a little side to side. Eventually we're going to cross over. Right knee comes to the left side. Arms open into a T. You can use this left hand to pull onto the right leg just to give yourself a little leverage. The gaze looks out past this right hand. Really bring that active belly breath here. Massage those inner organs. Good. Inhale to come back through center. And then stretch that leg out long. Left knee comes into the chest. Breathe deeply here. And start to play with that little hip flexor massage here. Rocking a little side to side. Beautiful. And then let's start to cross it over. Left knee over to the right side. Evening out the body. Finding this really nice twist. One more long breath. And then use an inhale to come back through center. And let's put the legs up a wall here, either literally in your space or figuratively, just lifting the legs up. Flex the ankles here. You're walking on the ceiling. Maybe even start to shake the legs out a little bit. And eventually, we'll come to our final resting pose, our Shavasana. This is where I invite you to grab a pillow and a blanket. Sometimes bringing a pillow right below the knees just takes a little pressure off that low back. Maybe the palms open to receive. Tuck the chin slightly. And allow the benefits to really root themselves into your body. Take a big inhale through the nose and then exhale out the mouth. One more of those. Inhale through the nose and let it out the mouth. And now start to scan through the body, relaxing every single toe, the bottoms of the feet, ankles, calves, knees, thighs. Hips are heavy. Belly is soft and relaxed. Chest is open. And then scanning down the shoulders to every last fingertip. Relax the collar, the neck, the jaw, and allow yourself to just be for the next few moments, and I will call you back after this little bit of well-deserved rest. Start to deepen the breath. Start to notice the sounds, maybe the quality of air in the space that you're in. Coming back to your mat. Maybe start to wiggle the fingers and toes. Maybe take a full body stretch. And then let's pull the knees into the chest. Give yourself one final hug of class. And then roll to one side, coming into a little fetal position. And then once you're ready, we'll seal our class in any seated position. Take a big inhale to lift the hands up and overhead. Palms come together and through heart center. And thank you so much for sharing your time and energy with me and everyone else who's practicing. The light within me honors and celebrates the light within each and every one of you. Namaste.